It's week 8 in the NFL, and we've got fantasy questions such as, will Percy Harvin become the first player whose fantasy value actually increases by joining the Jets?
After they play the Patriots, will you be yelling at your Bears the way that they yelled at each other last Sunday?
Is there actual fantasy intrigue in a game the Rams are playing?
And will Eddie Lacy be the only former Alabama running back to rip it up Sunday night in the Superdome?
All these questions and more answered on this week's Fantasy War Room live to tape.
By the power of Grayskull!
I feel like every single fantasy show this week should lead with the fact that there is a game, an NFL game, at 9:30 in the morning on the East Coast, 6:30 in the morning if you live on the West Coast. That is very early to have an NFL game.
That makes me wonder, because when you're in Los Angeles, I guess I've never lived out there for an extended period of time, but so when you go watch the 1 o'clock East Coast games, that's 10 o'clock Pacific time, you can go play, bars open up, but they can't serve you liquor until 12 or 1, so there's no drinking for those first games, which seems like a crazy idea
Why
to
even
me.
be in a bar?
Why not just be home? Who wants to go have overpriced brunch, Sans beer and Bloody Mary, and watch football?
I or somebody who would like to break the law can watch a pirated feed of the Red Zone on their internet while drinking their own liquor at home.
Right.
Yeah, do that.
I'd throw my own tailgate at the house.
The important thing, though, is with this London game, it's 2:30 London time, so it's normal for the English folk watching the game. But, folks, you're out Saturday night. You need to set that fantasy football whilst under the influence, and you know what? That's better than leaving your Phil Dawsons and whoever in the lineup.
Now, if you're in, I want to revisit this LA thing though, because if you're in Los Angeles, if you're out till 4, do you just rock and roll and stay up till 6:30 and just crank right through Sunday?
No, because that first game is a Falcons game.
Oh no, I'm sleeping it off.
Yeah, that's Lions at Falcons, I believe.
Even if I have Golden Tate, Matt Ryan, and Antone Smith, I'm total. I could have Julio Jones and need a huge win. I'm sleeping right through that one.
No,
I have no interest. Poor England, by the way.
Hey, you know what?
Why not send them an airplane full of sweaty people from Dallas? That would probably be a better gift.
You know what? The banner for that game is Lions at Falcons. At least the Jaguars aren't playing.
Right. Fair enough.
And they're probably pretty happy with that.
Lions at Falcons. We spared you the Jets.
Yes. Yeah, it's his favorite. And no Raiders. It's like we really did them a favor. You're welcome. Everybody else, wake up early.
Yeah. And enjoy your freedom.
Yeah. So let's get into things with this week's quarterback rankings. These were not done by you this week. These are from SB Nation's random number generator, highly scientific computer program we have.
We refer to the computer by the name of Alex, kind of like the computer system Daryl from the hit 1985 film Daryl. Or Whopper from War Games.
I was thinking 2001: A Space Odyssey. Hal.
Hal. That's, yeah. What did HAL stand for?
I don't recommend.
Highly amazing...
I don't know.
Logo bot?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I wouldn't start Golden Tate, Nick.
Hey, Hal, would you do me a favor and start the Jets defense instead of the Chargers this week? I'm sorry, Nick, but I'm afraid I can't do that.
All right, quarterback rankings for Week 8 in the NFL. Number 1 with a bullet, as he has been the last couple weeks, or should have been anyway, Aaron Rodgers at New Orleans in the Superdome on turf. What should be, in most seasons, a high-flying quarterback matchup with Drew Brees, but Brees kind of looks like butt this year. He was better this week. 342 through the air, I think, and then 2 touchdowns with interception.
That interception was horrible because they're up 23-17. The one thing you can't do is give up a touchdown.
Still only -2 on the old fantasy board.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, though, is that your heart gets ripped out as a fan, especially if you're a Saints fan.
But that could have been more yards through the air and a touchdown later on in the drive.
You never know that it could have led to points too, fantasy-wise.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing that we always keep forgetting, is that there's that emotional divorce between real fan and fantasy fan. And in fantasy, just like in the win and loss column for actual football teams, it doesn't matter how you get the points. Your fantasy program, Yahoo, ESPN, CBS, whatever.
Just name all the competitors.
Yeah, just SB Nation. It doesn't matter how you get the points. It just matters that they're gotten.
Yeah.
That's all. But anyway, Breeze he hasn't been very Breeze-like. He did have a good game against the Lions. The thing is, though, Green Bay, they're jacked. They're ready for this game. This is a huge statement game for them because the NFC is a little more up for grabs-ish now. And Rodgers looks phenomenal of late. Ever since he told everybody via his radio program to RELAX, 4 games, 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Yeah, ever since they lost to the Lions, I think 16-7, or they only put up 7 or 10 points against the Lions.
Right.
Then they put up 38, 42, 38, 27 points is their lowest scoring game the last 4 weeks. They are gonna. If trends continue, they're going to light up the Saints. I would love to see a shootout. I would love to see Breeze look like himself, the Breeze we want to.
Right.
But man, if you invested in the Saints before the season, Saints players, for your fantasy team, sorry, you're not getting that money back. You don't get a receipt with that. I'm afraid.
No, they average 10 points more when they play at home. They're 2-0 at home this year. They're 0-4 on the road. So obviously, home cooking is exactly what the Saints need. We've got Breeze as the number 5 quarterback. He should be number 2, but if he was playing better or if the whole team was playing better. Even the coach was kind of bitchy last Sunday after the game. But the thing is, Andrew Luck, he was big time. Did you see that? When he was like telling the guys after, like, be quiet. Be quiet. Like he was yelling at reporters. It was very Parcellsian. Of course, that's who he learned from. Romo playing phenomenally, playing great football. That game he put up against the Giants last week was tremendous.
And the Redskins are not exactly the beefiest of NFL defenses.
No, they had 2 guys that would probably. They have 3 guys that can play on any other team's NFL defense: Kerrigan, Arakpo, and D'Angelo Hall. And 2 of the 3 of those guys, well, he could be a safety or a slot cornerback on a lot of other teams.
D'Angelo Hall could play like slot.
He's out.
Yeah.
He's out for the year. And now Arakpo, he pulled an effort, tore a pec muscle, done.
It's not a comfortable feeling. We also neglected 2 and 3. Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning. You're starting them, obviously. Number 6, Russell Wilson. People are talking about the Seahawks' woes, having lost 2 close games the last 2 weeks. He, with the exception, 2 weeks ago he was terrible. Last week, brilliant. At least fantasy-wise, putting up great numbers, running the ball when he needs to. A great start. Really, really great fantasy season so far, with the one exception of week 6.
I think I may take issue with SB Nation Fantasy Bot 5000 having Brady at 8. I think he should at least be up a spot and could potentially go up a couple more spots because Ryan Tannehill just swam his way with the Dolphins into Chicago Bears Spaceship Stadium last week and put up 277 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. And
touchdown Tom's at home with a rejuvenated passing attack. I mean, I think the Bears are going to put up some points, but I could see Tommy Boy with 303 this week.
Yeah, well, certainly. My problem with that top 10 right there is Nick Foles at 7 at Arizona, a very good NFC West defense, and he's Nick Foles. Yes, granted, if you're getting 2013 Nick Foles, sure, but this is. Nick Foles has been exposed as a fraud, a fantasy fraud, Nick.
How about Nick Foles has thrown, here's a stat I heard earlier this week, Nick Foles has thrown 350% more interceptions already this year than he has all of last year. Threw 2 picks last year, has 7 this year.
Bring on Mark Sanchez. Let the Mark Sanchez era re-begin, sir.
Cry havoc and let slip the butt fumbler of Philadelphia.
Rounding out the top 10, Phillip Rivers and Matt Stafford. Sure, they're good, especially Stafford going up against a Falcons defense that is toothless, which, I mean, Falcons do not have teeth, but this is a Falcons defense that doesn't even have a very sharp beak.
No, it's just got one of those little birdie nubs. It's just waiting for someone to drop something in the nest.
They're more of a spoonbill.
Spoonbill
than a Falcon.
It's Pelican-esque.
Yes. Moving on to the final, rounding out the top 15, Carson Palmer, Cam Newton, Jake Cutler at New England, Ryan Tannehill at Jacksonville. It should be higher than 14.
I would think so, because you can throw against them as opposed to the way that you can run against Jacksonville.
And 15, Alex Smith. Any feelings about those last 5?
I think Ryan Tannehill is here to stay in the top 15 for a while. Look, here's the thing. Some of these other guys, obviously Rodgers and Peyton, have just been enormous. But Breeze has been very hit or miss. You would actually have been, and Romo's been great too.
And Brady had a really slow start to the season.
He had a very slow start, but now the last 3 weeks he's been top 6 quarterback. Ryan Tannehill quietly is giving you, what do you want? There's a lot of things I want. A Batmobile, a nacho cheese fountain, beer to still taste as delicious but be less caloric, sure.
Yeah.
But every week, if someone told me you're not going to get like a Peyton or Rodgers-esque 30, but you're also not going to get Nick Foles giving you like negative points in San Francisco. What if your quarterback could always be between 15 and 18? Would you sign up for that right now?
Nah, I need 18 to 20. I want 18 to 20.
Tannehill's going to go 250, 2 touchdowns, and a pick pretty much every Sunday for the rest of the season. I'd take it.
That's nice.
I've said that in a lot of situations, but right here and right now, I would sign up today, line that is dotted, 250, 2 touch, and a pick.
Don't get me wrong. If he's your backup quarterback, a great backup quarterback to have to get you through a bye week. If you're in one of the futuristic dystopian hellscapes that is a 2-quarterback league, then he's a great second quarterback to start. Sure, fine with it. But like I enjoy speaking about him as a possibility if your quarterback's on bye.
This is a dystopian hell of a 2-quarterback league. I was just thinking, like honestly, having a 2-quarterback team. A 2-quarterback team is like a car that comes with 2 steering wheels. Like, what? Are you not happy controlling both sides of the car with 1 wheel? Now you need 2. Oh, all right, hold on. 2 quarterbacks is just dumb.
Yes.
You don't need it.
Yes.
You don't need it.
I agree. But that doesn't until we are made fascist dictators of fantasy football for life, there's going to be 2-quarterback leagues, and so we should at least begrudgingly acknowledge that they exist. You disgusting animals.
But there should be a fantasy czar, right?
Yeah.
There absolutely should
I nominate myself. People get upset about death panels, but I prefer to think of it as these are cullings that need to be made. I've said too much, haven't I?
When you walk into wouldn't you love to be like introduced at the White House when you finally go have dinner there as Mr. and Mrs. Ufford, your benevolent fantasy overlord?
Mm-hmm. I'd wear a top hat.
Totally.
Yeah.
100% chance I would have a monocle and a top hat if I went to the White House for dinner.
Absolutely.
You have to.
Mr. Barry Obama. All right.
Barack Obama. So yeah, those are the quarterbacks. I can't think of anyone else that I think should have snuck up here. I don't see a lot of movement. Cam Newton, very disappointing game last week. Ended up okay. Some of the guys on his team benefited. Olsen and Benjamin luckily bailed out with some points later on in the game, but he's been very hit or miss this year. A frustrating year to own him. He hasn't been 2013 RG3 bad.
Yeah.
Because of the ankle and the odd allotment of weapons, if you will, that he's had, and there's no ground game to be found in Carolina. It's just you're going to have to ride him out, or I would say I'd make the switch. If Cam Newton is the crappy coffee in your kitchen, I'd switch to the green tea of Tannehill. Just saying it.
There you go. I will say Cam Newton and the Panthers have played the Seahawks each of the last 2 seasons, both very low-scoring affairs. A 12-7 game 2 years ago and another low-scoring affair last year.
Like a 16-14.
Something like that. My memory's not good, and I'm not very good at my job, so I can't remember. So even with the addition of Kelvin Benjamin, even though the Seahawks aren't as good on defense this year, I'm expecting a little bit more of a lower scoring output there. Even if it's like 23-20, you're not going to see a huge fantasy game, I don't think.
Correct.
All right, let's move on to running backs, sir.
Moving on.
Let's just go ahead and etch DeMarco Murray into stone until when do you think?
Licking his he and his bruised shoulder and his rolled over ankle and his banged up cold tub needing everything gets an extra day to rest and draws
The Redskins defense.
Yeah, draws the gout-ridden hobo line that is the Washington Redskins. I said too much. I said Redskins.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I know.
The Washington defense. They're bad.
Yeah.
They're very bad. Anybody can score on them.
Yeah, and everybody has.
And everyone has. It's going to be 8. Put it this way. It's going to be 8 straight to start the season.
Yeah,
right?
let's just go ahead and keep moving on. Matt
Yeah.
Forte's been amazing. Amazing. And I'm I think I only have him in one league, and it's
Since
just
2008, the most yards from scrimmage in the NFL belong to Matt Strong.
Oh.
Forte, French for strong.
Yeah, I understand.
Eh? Oh, you
also,
do.
Also, if you're singing, Matt Loud.
Wow, very nice.
Yes.
I like that.
Break out the sheet music.
And, of course, somebody like him is going to be a nightmare for the Patriots who have suffered injuries in the linebacking core along the defensive line. He's going to he'll probably of your 5 regular fantasy weapons in Chicago, I would say Matt Forte is probably the safest and surest bet for double-digit output Sunday.
Yeah, because at least one of Brandon Marshall or Alshon Jeffrey is going to get Revis Island for a good chunk of the game. So yeah, I agree. Number 3, Aaron Foster. He's been playing fantastically recently. I joked about like, oh, it's only a matter of time until his hammy's done again, and no, it's been better than ever.
Looks good. Yeah, back's holding up. Looked great Monday night. Of course, there was a very key fumble. Again, it only takes away 2 fantasy points, but it did shift the balance of power in that game.
And also, who scored a receiving touchdown out of the backfield? Alfred Blue.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Getting in on that. Jamal Charles against a St. Louis defense. Yeah, sure, I'll take that.
Take me some.
Marshawn Lynch, Le'Veon Bell, LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy at 7. What's LaShawn McCoy been up to? Has he actually been...
he had a very good game heading into the bye.
Good for him.
He did. He actually had a good game. He had against the Giants. But that was one of those Sundays where the Giants decided not to show up. He finally had a game that made you say, "Oh, there's the real Shady again." Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Can he do it again? Don't know.
I would like to believe, in general, I subscribe to the intelligence and preparation of Chip Kelly.
Coming off the bye.
I would think that the Eagles are going to be very prepared for that, even though it's on the road against a very good Cardinals team. I think the Eagles will play him tough, and I think that LaShawn McCoy is an excellent play this week.
And don't forget that means that the bye came at the perfect time, not only for somebody like him, but also his offensive line, which has been dinged up.
Yeah, absolutely. 8, I think Andre Ellington is actually like worthy of a higher spot than 8. Now I own him.
Not scoring a lot.
No, I own him in a couple of half-point PPR leagues, and so that's just
wonderful.
20 points, 20 points, 20 points.
Yeah.
It's been very, very nice having him.
He is the definition of fantasy point. He's the death by 1,000 paper cuts of an offensive attack.
Yeah.
You're looking for the touchdowns. You're looking for the triple digits in rushing yards. You see none of it. Yet somehow next to his name it's like 18.6. Wow, how'd that happen?
12 yards a catch.
Yeah, 12 exactly. Yeah, 12 yards a catch.
I just made that up. I just shouldn't be quoted as an actual stat.
just making things up.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, sure, 12 yards a catch.
And welcome back to the top 10, Eddie Lacy.
Oh, it's nice to see him again. He looked good last week.
Yeah.
But Carolina was giving up 5. Carolina is the push-me-aroundiest of all of the defenses in the NFL, giving up 5.5 yards a carry.
James Starks is questionable, which would help Lacy's value, of course.
Because he stole a couple of yards and a touchdown. And I know Mike McCarthy wanted to try to get an equal time share. But Eddie Lacy is one of those guys. He's a big body. He's 230 some odd pounds. He's
a large man.
He's not. There's no change of pace. A change of pace for Eddie Lacy is having steak instead of a sloppy Joe. That's a change of pace for Eddie Lacy. So you got to feed him the ball, and that's exactly what you want. Keep the ball out of the hands of the Saints. Don't give them a chance to get into the game. Don't let them get the crowd behind them. Just pound the rock because that Saints defense is in trouble.
The Packers don't need to pound the rock. The Packers have Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb.
And Randall Cobb, who is open on every play.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a play that's been run this year. I don't need to watch the all 22s. I know. He's open on all 22 plays every half. It's pretty amazing. That could be trouble for them. Now here's number 10, rounding out the top 10, Ben Tate.
Where were the Browns last week? The Jaguars.
Cleveland.
Yeah. Yes, I know. I know where they were.
No, they stayed in Cleveland. It was send a fake football team day in Jacksonville, so the Browns only obliged. What a dismal, piss poor performance.
But Ben Tate aside, has looked really good since he got healthy. But man, 6 points from the Browns.
No.
Again, 6 points from the Browns is not something surprising. The Jaguars holding you to 6 points is something that it's like, oh man. Things were better when they had Mercer in the locker room.
That was Tampa.
No, they had it first.
Jacksonville had it first?
No, Cleveland had it first.
Oh, they did too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Cleveland and Tampa Bay, go figure.
That doesn't explain much of anything at all.
No.
Two teams like, is there any chance we could spray the locker room down with something more deadly than staph infection? Yeah, sure, we got plenty of Mercer. You want some? Moving into the back half of the rankings this week, Jerick McKinnon at 11 against Tampa Bay. Well, put it this way. Tampa's got the 25th ranked rushing defense.
Sure.
Jerick McKinnon, 2 games over 100 yards of the last 4 games he's played for the Vikes. And Teddy Bridgewater,
Teddy Bridgewater.
Can't stop throwing the ball to the other team. He and his tiny hands just cannot stop throwing the ball.
Teddy Bridge, he's going to be fine.
Oh, T-Bridge.
Not necessarily this week, but
like
he will
a
be fine.
bridge to intercepted waters, he will throw it home. So I think the Vikings would be best served to feed it soon, often, and then again to McKinnon this week because he looks good.
Yeah, absolutely. He's an electric player.
Look at this. Look at this. There are a lot of names in the back half of the rankings here. These are your, low-end RB1s, RB2s, and flexes. I mean, look at this. Guys like Justin Forsett, Ahmad Bradshaw, Ronnie Hillman.
Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah.
Giovanni Bernard.
I think you'd maybe see him in the top 10. I'm just saying, look at these guys. They were waiver wire. A lot of these guys weren't even drafted.
Oh, I thought you were talking about guys who have been excellent this season.
They've been
higher
pleasant
than 10.
surprises. It's just strange that big names, here we are championing Eddie Lacy for making it back into the top 10 when we all thought he'd be a top 5 back the whole year.
Yeah.
Whereas now Justin Forsett, Lamar Miller, and Ronnie Hillman are becoming fantasy mainstays, and they're bench warmers.
And by the way, at number 18, Lamar Miller at Jacksonville, he's going to be way higher than that.
Their run defense isn't bad. They put an end to Ben Tate's big comeback tour last week, and Lamar Miller's only averaged 3.6 yards a carry the last couple weeks.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, look who's done his research.
Look who's had to fill it. Look who's had to play the part of. Look who's had to play the part of Matt Ufford in SB Nation the musical this week. I know everything.
Research does pay off sometimes.
It unlike beer and pretzels with sour cream at 2 a.m. does a body good.
Yeah. Ahmad Bradshaw, I would love to sing his praises for a moment, just because he has single-handedly saved one of my fantasy teams. Just a reliable play, even though Trent Richardson's been in there and getting half the carries.
What's been a pleasant surprise too is guys that you and I just love to knock on a regular basis that are very injury prone, and we always buy into them, and we keep thinking this is the year they're not going to go down in the ball of tangles or torn flames that they usually do. Malcolm Floyd, Ahmad Bradshaw, Arian Foster.
And the biggest
DeMarco Murray.
DeMarco Murray.
All still healthy and all playing. Now watch, this week, all 4 of them a drone will fall out of the sky and land on all of them or something like that. Like something horrendous, or they'll all
It would make for good television.
It would.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And let's see, who else were you talking about? We just talked about the Colts. Trent Richardson has actually, while we're talking about things that have changed, Trent Richardson, until he injured his hamstring, he's questionable, has actually not been terrible.
No, it looks pretty good. Scored a couple times himself. He's scored on the ground, whereas Bradshaw has 4 receiving and 1 rushing. Got his first rushing last week. One running back I would like to bring up here in the rankings that is not in our top 20 that I think people should. Maybe you might be able to grab. I know this week everybody went crazy. They overpaid for Trey Mason. Then they spent probably a little too much on Bryce Brown or maybe Boobie Dixon because they weren't sure who's going to get the rock in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But we know Fred Jackson's out at least a month and C.J. Spiller for probably 2 months.
Yeah.
So those are the guys that got. Oh, and even maybe Denard Robinson got a lot of money spent on him. And
come on, if
it's
you're
crazy.
If you're spending money on a Jaguar, don't do that.
No, just don't spend. Don't spend that much money on him with your free agency budget.
No.
One guy that I think could be available, or a lot of people like I did. I had him in a couple leagues, stashed him on the bench, wrote it out for the month that he was out with his broken hand. Mark Ingram, and we mentioned him in the cold open of the show. They need to run the ball, obviously. Green Bay has they're like the 8th worst rush defense in football, so you can run against them for sure. This is the perfect time for him to get going because Kyrie Robinson's in the doghouse because he fumbled last week. Pierre Thomas is out 2 to 3 weeks with a banged-up shoulder, and Travaris Cadet. Sure, let's call the whole thing off. He's not getting the ball either. So, perfect day for Mark Ingram to meet Eddie Lacy at the midfield of former powerhouse Alabama running backs and actually beat him at his own game. I would grab him and start him this week for a low-end RB2 flex for sure.
Yeah, I could not disagree more. I think that's fantastic advice and good advice to close on for running backs. I think with that, we should talk about wide receivers.
Let us turn the page literally and
also figuratively? Sure.
Yeah, because we turned the show page and we both actually turned our page.
Yeah, sure. I like that.
I hear Bob Seger in my head.
Demaryius Thomas every week. Remember when we were like, at the beginning, people were like, Demaryius Thomas, what's wrong with him? What's going on? Yeah, he's fine.
Totally fine.
He's gigantic and he's really fast.
Super fast, gigantic, Peyton's favorite target.
Yeah.
Technically, okay, Emmanuel Sanders may lead in receptions.
Yeah.
but Demaryius leads in targets, and he's just going to keep putting up these enormous numbers. He's putting up like the kinds of numbers that like almost win you games. Like seeing 26 or 28 or 30 points out of him now is kind of becoming the norm.
Yeah.
But that's why you took him in the first round.
Yeah, it's 8 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown is almost a disappointment from him.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Six for 90 and 2 touchdowns. It's like, oh man, couldn't you have had double-digit catches? Like, look at what we're expecting of him. We're expecting Terrell Owens, 2004. We're expecting Randy Moss, 2007. Yeah. Those are legendary all-star years. But he's on his way to putting up maybe top 10 numbers for a wide receiver fantasy all time, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, especially considering that the guy who plays tight end across from him is leading the NFL in touchdowns.
Yeah. 9 touchdowns, Mrs. Bueller. He's got 9.
Didn't score one last week, right?
Was not very involved, and all the good coverage backers for San Francisco were home with Broto.
Craziness.
Trying to give it. We've been all week long here. We've been trying to come up with a new name. We got to come up with something better than turf toe.
Turf toe?
Just doesn't sound.
Yeah.
Tough, rough, bro. Like, it's got to be something. Does dislocated toe?
Yeah.
Bro toe?
Ouchie toe?
Ouchies?
He's got bad ouchies.
He's got a case of the ouchies.
Let's round out the top 5. Des Bryant, Jordy Nelson, Antonio Brown, Randall Cobb. Incredible that one team can have 2 top 5 fantasy wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. There's room.
That's Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb are great. That's Aaron Rodgers being the best in the game.
Yeah. That's exactly what happens when you have the best quarterback in the NFL, 2 wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, you put Aaron Rodgers with Julio Jones and Roddy White, same story.
Maybe even better.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? These guys are playing. Like I said, Jordy Nelson, the big target, and Randall Cobb is open somehow on every play. It's tremendous what they're pulling. If they actually had a reasonable tight end, I'll tell you who Tony Gonzalez should, if he's flirted with the notion of like, all right, I did my half-season warm-up for doing the pregame shows. I'll be back next year in network TV. I'm going to go play 8 games and try to get a ring.
Why didn't he just
go to Green Bay? Go to Green Bay.
Yeah.
You will just be stuffed with brats and cheese and line and kugel.
Well, I don't think Tony Gonzalez will be down with the brats, but... he's a vegetarian.
He's veg?
He's that good and still a vegetarian. Amazing.
It's like Ray Allen. Why is Ray Allen still good at basketball at age 39? Hasn't had a cheeseburger since he was 18.
God dang.
I've eaten every single one that he passed up on.
You know what? Like, sure, he's a champion. He's a multimillionaire. He is regarded he'll go down in sports history, and people will remember him for generations after he's dead, but... not worth it.
No. What would you rather do?
Cheeseburgers.
Have a couple NBA championships, be athletic and healthy, and like, wow, I can play a great golf game when I'm 78. Yeah, but you know what? I had a cheeseburger, so suck it, Ray Allen. That's why they call me Cheeseburger Jesus. Cheeseburger Shuttlesworth.
Back to the wide receiver rankings. Let's talk about number 7 on this list, Golden Tate.
The only human being that's glad that Calvin Johnson hasn't played football.
Yeah, and I guess Golden Tate owners. But fantastic week last week. 120 plus a touchdown, and. He was always this talented at Seattle. They just didn't throw the ball very much. He was always their best deep threat. A great blocking receiver. Not that shows up or that you care about for fantasy terms, but shows that he has the ability to be a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he does, and which is pretty impressive. The Seattle offense is like Russell Wilson's favorite receiver is like whoever's open. Matt Stafford does not have Russell Wilson's field vision. He doesn't have his maneuverability.
He's got laser vision on one guy he wants to throw to.
He's got lockjaw eyes. He sees somebody that he wants to throw to. Now Golden Tate's like, oh, this is what it feels like to be Calvin Johnson.
Yeah. Which
not as tall.
Is probably a nice feeling.
It's got to be a great feeling.
Side note to Calvin Johnson, get healthy already, sir. Time's ticking, and I'm losing fantasy games. That's great that you're getting healthy.
Yeah, not for nothing. I don't want to start pushing my own agenda or anything, but if you could maybe make it back for the post-Week 9 bye, that'd be great. Just saying.
Jim Caldwell. I guess I should have kept him out this week.
He's not going to play till after the bye, which is going to be rough.
Jackass.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, though.
No. Jim Caldwell's a jackass for playing him when he was hurt.
When he was hurt, because all he did was take him out for another couple of weeks.
God.
T.Y. Hilton, Alshon Jeffrey. If he's who knows who's going to get Revis Island? So, like we said earlier, one of the Bears receivers is going to be
somewhat limited
in the Revis doghouse. The other one not. So, who knows? Will it be Jeffrey? Will it be Marshall? I have a feeling Brandon Marshall is going to get locked up with Revis because they're going to want to put the most physical guy. Like Alshon Jeffrey may have the more fluid moves, the longer stride, and the higher top end speed. Brandon Marshall's the more physical one, so I think that's probably who's going to draw Revis.
I've got a bold sports take for you right now.
Hit me.
I'm saying Brandon Marshall's going to have a big week this week. At least better than Alshon Jeffrey. And here's why. Brandon Marshall is that outspoken leader on the team, called out Jay Cutler. They're close relationship, and very emotional Brandon Marshall. I think he's going to come out pissed off, inspired, and Jay Cutler is going to be looking to feed Brandon Marshall, show him that
early and often
we're the team, we can do this. So that's the old hunch and gut.
Old Hunchy LaRue,
the old Nick Stevens hunch and gut.
The old H&G, huh?
Not great in terms of passing the health inspection, but a memorable meal, just the same. Yes.
Just a big question mark on the not even a grade pending. Brandon Marshall he and his 9 person. If there's a pass for all of his personalities, then he's going to have a big football game on Sunday.
Yeah. Don't make light of emotional.
I was going to say emotions. There I was just making fun of somebody who's a spokesman for mood and personality disorders and mental illness. Oh, see, that's what makes Patriots fans such terrible people.
And the racism.
And the wife beating.
Right,
the second half of the receivers. Sammy Watkins is somebody I could see maybe jumping into the top 10 this week because he looks great. Yeah, A, it's the Jets, and B, they don't have a clear number 1 cornerback at all.
Yeah.
And he's becoming a clear number 1 receiver quickly.
He's the one rookie wide receiver where I'm looking at. He's grown into that. I'm starting every week. It used to be Kelvin Benjamin at the beginning of the year. I was like, Kelvin Benjamin's the guy, clearly, the first 3-4 weeks. The last 2 weeks, Mike Evans has put up 50, 60 yards plus a touchdown. He's looking steadier, but Sammy Watkins is the one that stands out of those of the big rookie
They're all good. They're all having
absolutely
a fantastic 2014 first-round wide receiver draft class.
Yeah.
All of them are producing, all of them meriting their picks.
You know who's not is Brandon Cooks. If you had big plans for Brandon Cooks, he's going to be a PPR machine. He's going to get the ball in space. Again, not the year to invest in the Saints.
I'm no draftsmith, but I didn't hear a lot about him in college, and I watch a lot of college football. Wasn't a name that was on my draft day radar. May have been a little bit of a reach.
Got to watch a lot of Pac-12. It's on at like 3 in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe when I'm pre-gaming for Falcons, Lions, I'll try to catch up on some of that.
Also, number 11, Jeremy Maclin got a tough assignment there in Arizona with Patrick Peterson. I still think he's going to get it done. He's still a reliable play. Same thing with really the rest of the top 20 here. These are all guys that you're running out to play every single week.
Right. Edelman hasn't had a big game in a couple of weeks, though.
Danny Amendola actually caught a touchdown pass.
I know. Believe me, I was just as surprised as every other Patriots fan.
He was acting all like chest puffed out. It's like, Amendola, come on. Don't.
Easy, Brola.
Yeah,
hold on.
That's way to show up for the first time in 2 months.
It was a heck of a catch, though.
It was. Nice.
And also, they finally got him involved. It made me think for a second, like, are they going to do this more often? And is this going to make me think that he's actually got some value? Because he returned 5 or 6 kickoffs for about 150 yards total. Catch, touchdown. I'd sign up for that. If I knew Amendola was going to catch a touchdown every other week and get all those return yards.
If you've got a kick return yardage league.
Key card, slot, I'm in.
If you've got a kick return yardage league. Most people don't have that.
Some people do.
Some people do, and that's the case, sure. Let's talk about a couple of receivers outside the top 20. First of all, I want to stay on the Patriots. Brandon LaFell, where do you stand with him? Is he the most reliable option for the Patriots at wide receiver now?
That's still Edelman. Edelman being it'll be the most dangerous touchdown friendliest one is LaFell. But Edelman is still, if your league is a half or full point PPR, then you'll still want to stay with the Edelmania. I don't believe I saw, if I may, oh, there he is. He's at number 12. There's Mike Wallace there.
Yeah.
The Giants, of course, are on a bye, so no Odell Beckham Jr. this week, who had 2 touchdowns last weekend. And I'm not sure if I see him. No, there's no Terrence Williams. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Mr. Williams has gone to town, that being the 6-point town, several times. Many more times than we would have thought so far this year. Scored last week, scored against the Texans.
He has 5 or 6, I think 6 touchdowns this year so far. He's a player you start every single week, and especially with the Redskins. Yeah, run him out there, play him. Because it's again
zero cornerback.
We talk about player baselines, and it's like Terrence Williams has established that he's a threat to score a touchdown every single week. Viable option for Tony Romo. we talk about Matt Stafford having lockjaw eyes on whoever his one wide receiver is. Not the case with Tony Romo. He looks to spread it around. Gavin Escobar getting touchdowns, but Terrence Williams is a red zone threat for them, and he's got kind of a baseline of he's getting 70 yards every single week. He's not having the 19-yard performance every third or fourth week. He's a reliable play. He's not going to disappear on you. Play Terrence Williams.
I would totally play Terrence Williams, even if you think. Are there going to be enough balls to go around? Is everybody going to get served? This is not going to be a trap game.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, they see it, they smell it. They're into it. I think they're going to be 7-1 after next Monday night, which is crazy to think.
Just imagine. I don't think it's going to happen in the regular season, but just imagine how delicious their playoff meltdown's going to be. When
he's asleep the night before the game and somebody finds the switch where he turned it off and they turn back on the Romo program on Tony Romo and he just throws that inexplicable, like Jake Del Ohms versus the Cardinals. Remember that playoff game a couple years ago where we had 6 interceptions? It's going to be so fun.
He's one of those deep program Cylons.
Yeah.
He's in deep cover.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be great. My Schadenfreude is going to be like an unattended Jiffy Pop, just blowing up everywhere. Hooray!
All right, I want to close out the wide receiver discussion with the biggest name of last weekend, that being somebody who didn't play, Percy Harvin. Made huge news, of course, when he was traded from the Seahawks to the Jets. A disappointment for the Seahawks, had a lot of close calls. Clearly an explosive player who didn't like the way that he was used, wanted to be the target of more deep balls, wanted basically more playing time, more targets, etc. Also, running out of teammates to punch, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, so new
funny
environment.
Isn't it funny how you'll find yourself on the next boat to get out of here town and a member of the New York Jets when you get into an argument, a disagreement, and a fight with the franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
It's okay. You
the
can punch
Super Bowl
out,
winning franchise quarterback.
You can punch out Golden Tate before the Super Bowl.
And they'll get rid of Golden Tate. You can threaten to punch out Russell Wilson. Your ass is gone. See ya. CYA. Bye-bye. So let's go ahead and talk about is Percy Harvin, is this a guy you buy low on? Do you drop him? Do you bench him? Do you run him out the first week thinking, hey, he's going to make a statement? Where do you stand on Percy Harvin right now?
I would start him on some of the other programs here on SB Nation this week. We discussed the fact that he's a perfect buy low guy. If there's someone, because chances are someone who's had him this long is so frustrated with him that they've probably been benching him. And so now he's dead weight. He's a name that people have held on to in name only probably on their fantasy roster.
A sunk cost.
So so now they're looking. So if they could raise the Titanic, if there's any way in the world they could possibly get something for him, just throw a middling running back at them. Just something, a wide receiver three.
A flex running back.
Give me a flexible, you know what? Throw an Owen Daniels at them maybe or something like that. Is that a lot, you think, starting tight end?
I wouldn't even get. If I had Percy Harvin, and I do in a couple leagues, in one league, and somebody offered me Owen Daniels, I'd say, Again,
but that's
I'm also
a
more
TE1.
conservative. I'm a more conservative player who wants to see how he's going to do in the Jets.
That's a TE1 versus somebody like the most you're ever going to get from Owen Daniels is 15 points in a game, tops. That's probably his ceiling. 18 tops.
Yeah.
But Percy Harvin
has had more fantasy points taken away by penalties
than a lot of flex and tight ends have scored. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do I think he's the kind of guy that the Jets needed? No. I think what the Jets really needed for somebody like Geno Smith is a confidence booster. They needed somebody who was going to be. Give me a wide receiver who just somehow is like. Who's the Reggie Wayne that they could have gotten?
Yeah.
For Geno Smith to help build his confidence.
They need that guy,
wide receiver,
the crisp route runner who's
used to be a 1, now he's a 2.
Yeah.
But he's a crisp. Yeah, exactly. Great hands, always open, can get you a third down. That's what Geno needed. The last thing they needed was somebody else who was a complete head case.
You know what the Jets should have done is.
Stopped playing?
You know what they needed was a different quarterback.
He didn't look bad against the Pats, I got to tell you.
He didn't. No. That was a nice game from him, and there's certainly hope for him. Yeah, hope for a better day.
Exactly.
And you know what?
But I'd buy low on Percy.
I would go so far as to say I think it's worth starting him. Like maybe not wide receiver 1 territory, but I think he's a curiosity flex play for me. Like I'm gonna take that chance. I'm gonna roll that dice. I think I can hit this 10. Sure. I'm going to go for it.
I may even put a little money behind the line there on you.
Yeah. You're playing the pass line
I'm
for
going to play
me?
the pass. That's right. I'm going to play the pass line.
All right, thanks. Gambling
Well, hold on.
references.
There's $1 for the dealer.
All right, keep the change. Let's talk about tight ends and our rankings.
We need a really good. I wish this was like the Soup or something where instead of having to say it every week whenever
tight ends.
Yeah, when you were like, let's talk about tight ends, and just a giant voice of God came in and just was like, ooh, yum.
I think we have a new tradition on the show now. Let's try it. Let's talk about tight ends.
Hey now.
Number 1, Julius Thomas, every single week in stone, even though he didn't score a touchdown last week. What a shame. What a crying shame.
Sorry. I just had a waterfall of realization that I don't take myself seriously, so how could any of you possibly?
Oh, yeah.
That said, we're actually both good at this, and we've won fantasy championships, so
Plural.
I digress.
Plural.
Championships.
Yeah.
Yeah, Julius Thomas did not score last week, which was a surprise. Actually, just a very middling to disappointing game.
Yeah.
Well, any week he doesn't score now is disappointing, but pretty much didn't register on the radar, and neither did Gronk. It was not a great week for tight end ones overall. It was actually the Allens and the Jordan Reeds that put up more points last week. They're starting to work their way back up towards the must-start elite tight end discussion.
Yeah, Jordan Reed obviously dealt with injuries throughout the beginning of the year. A real shame for the people who picked up Niles Paul because he was so good.
That concussion against the Giants knocked him out. That derailed the Niles Paul experiment. And then that allowed the time for Jordan Reed to heal up and come back.
Yep.
Jordan Reed's always been great. He's another one of those joker hybrid ones who's got the tight end size, but's got low end wide receiver speed.
And I mean, plus he's got Colt McCoy throwing him to him, so
yes,
you have to start him.
I believe we were Jordan Reed. Just so you know that you definitely should start him. Cowboys have given up 7 tight end touchdowns this year. And Jordan Reed the past 2 weeks, 14 catches for 146 yards. So even though he hasn't scored in a half-point PPR league, I'll take that. I'll take 7-8 points guaranteed for my tight end.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Absolutely.
Colt McCoy, I believe we referred to him as a quarterback who's got the arm strength of a malnourished 11-year-old.
Oh.
Yeah.
That poor kid.
He makes, like I like to say, he makes Chad Pennington look like Jeff George. That's going to be fun to watch.
Let's talk about the man at number 4, Jimmy Graham. He
Banged
will play.
up.
He will play. The shoulder's still injured. He was limited in practice, I believe. But apparently his limitations are he's only going to be playing passing downs. Well, duh. I don't care about him on
Hey, Green Bay, guess what we're going to do?
Yeah, we're throwing it to Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
You know what? I hope that he does well, but I think that, again, the Saints. I want to believe in Drew Brees in the Superdome. They're better at home, 10 points better at home per game. But man, I have a hard time. I've been burned by him. I've been burned by the Saints this year, and so yeah. Obviously, if you have Jimmy Graham, you're enthralled that he's back. He's going to get targets. He's 6'7". He's going to catch some balls.
Sure.
Obviously. So
I would not be surprised if they don't even still double team him and say, okay, you know what, old man Colston, okay, fumbles McCooks. What do you guys got? What are you going to do? Do you know who actually Meacham was in the game last week? He saw some passes. The Breeze was spreading the ball around nicely until he shot his own.
Stills.
Oh, and Kenny Stills had a nice game too.
Over 100 yards. I think a 103 and a touchdown.
But usually that involves 2 long bombs if he's going to get 100 yards. But he did have 5 receptions for 103 yards, I think, and a touchdown. That's the Kenny Stills that they need on a regular basis.
Yeah. No, and that's he's been completely absent.
There is no excuse for that team to go on the road and play the way that they have, or at least not keep up with Green Bay, or possibly win on Sunday night. Stills, Graham, Colston, Cooks, Ingram.
I just want to see
weaponry.
I just want to see the old Washington State Cal game. Give me a 60-59 game. I want to see. I don't want defense. I just want to see Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers slang the ball.
Yeah, you know what I want to see? I want to see a good old fashioned Dan Fouts versus young John Elway. I want
Sure.
I just want 43-39.
Yeah.
Just get out there. Just don't even run a running back. Don't insult me by putting a running back on the field.
No, just give me the explosions, man. Just the highlight reel. All right, let's number 10 is Travis Kelce. I've really enjoyed watching him play in the Chiefs offense because that is actually I don't want to say I've enjoyed watching him play because the Chiefs offense is pretty boring to watch.
It's a little pop gun.
Unless the ball's in Jamal Charles' hands, I'm not really interested in watching the Chiefs on offense. But Travis Kelce is like their one legitimate
receiving threat.
He's their good receiving threat.
I have to hit the sneeze button. Excuse me.
Oh, yeah, we'll just edit
that come
out.
through?
No, nothing happened at all. All right. And then the final five, Zach Ertz, Delaney Walker, Owen Daniels at Cincinnati, Jason Witten versus Washington. Jason Witten's come along lately. And then Charles Clay at Jacksonville. Thoughts on those?
Zach Ertz looked great, finally scored. Really starting to get some of those nice looks, the TE1 looks that we've been expecting because he's a big guy, big target, good speed.
Only his second year in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He's coming into his own.
Yep.
I like Ertz a lot.
Ertz so good.
Yeah.
Owen Daniels, touchdown last week, looking good, playing the part of Dennis Pitta. Owen Daniels starring as Dennis Pitta in the Baltimore Ravens story. Jason Witten, no spleen, doesn't care, getting out there. Did lose 2 touchdowns to Gavin Escobar. There's a guy that we could be talking about in a couple of weeks because he's tall, fast, and he's got good hands. And he was wide open on some of those plays.
I'm really excited. This is where the dispassionate, awful person that's a fantasy player in me wants, and it's the same person who's eager for Antonio Gates to retire so I can watch Ladarius Green and have him on a fantasy team. Gavin Escobar is just a big, long arm, great red zone target, but doesn't get enough usage on the rest of the field to make him worthy in fantasy. And it's out of the way, Jason Witten. I don't care that you're one of the best tight ends to ever play the game. I just want Gavin Escobar to shine. Yeah, he's just a jerk. What a dick thing to say.
Isn't it? But you know what? That's okay. Sometimes I watch and I'm like, come on, Witten, come on. Good God, Novacek could probably still get out there and be faster than you. You and your arm compression sleeves and your rosacea and your no spleen. Get out of there. Make way for the new fast guy. I'm more interested in somebody else. But you know what? There's a bromance between Romo. Mm-hmm. Between Romo and Witten. They're buddies.
Yep.
That they got that groovy kind of QB tight end love. And it's going to keep up for a while longer. But at least Escobar is getting in the game and getting catches and catching touchdowns. Ladarius Green is nowhere to be found.
Jerk.
Yeah, nowhere to be. Exactly. I blame it on him.
Yeah, it's his fault. Mm-hmm. It's his fault. He's not working hard enough.
Nope. him and Keenan Allen can report to my office now. We're going to have a talk.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Keenan Allen.
Because we're tired of it.
We're tired of it.
We're tired. What are you going to do if your kid's a brat and won't eat its dinner and throws it on the ground every night, or just gets in a fight at the playground? How many nights in a row, when Dad comes home, when he comes walking through the door, are Mom and Dad gonna sit down and talk about it? Eventually, you just know your kid's a brat.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it.
He's gonna join a gang. That's just the way we'll have another one and hope that they actually go to school.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I just thought it was gonna be the kid was just gonna be kind of a POS. I didn't think he was gonna join a gang.
No, he ends up being Aaron Hernandez.
No, that's how it ends? Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate for him.
Allegedly murdered 3 people.
Him and the 3 human
just because you didn't want to talk about him with your wife at dinner.
Yeah, just for that.
You did that.
I know. I'm sorry.
Terrible father.
He's the worst father.
All right, let's talk defense. Let's talk defense and special team rankings. Buffalo Bills at New York Jets is our SB Nation's random number generator computer bot.
Poorly paid human person.
Making words up.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I love the Bills this week. I actually prefer the Lions. Lions versus the Falcons. Again, it says at Atlanta, but it's actually
at Wembley.
At Wembley. The grass. It's not Julio Jones on turf. It's actually a little bit slower surface. I like the Lions a lot.
I am going to wake up and watch that game for a number of reasons. Well, one, I'm coming in on an airplane, so I'm probably going to land and have nothing better to do when I get home. But I want to hear, they're very creative with their chanting over. I want to hear what the chants are for the Falcons, and they do soccer-style chants for the teams.
That's nice.
Also, do you know at Wembley you're not subjected to one of those NFL licenses like Bud Light or Coors Light, so you can drink Kronenberg or Carlsberg. So you get that good bitter Euro beer with a little formaldehyde in it. Oh, it is such a good football buzz.
So you're gonna be at home drinking Kronenberg just to keep the verisimilitude going.
Yeah, just I'll have a scarf on. I'm doing my match day chants.
Yeah, all right.
Why don't we roll the bones? throw it to Julio Jones. Something
All
like
right.
that.
Dolphins at Jacksonville. Again, the Dolphins are a very good defense. The Dolphins are a better team than people have really talked about.
Sneaky good.
And when you're sneaky good against Jacksonville, that really helps. And I definitely love that play this week.
I heard that's the new name of the 9th fantasy show you're going to start hosting here on SB Nation. Sneaky Goods. And it's just going to be all about teams that are sneaky good.
And I will start sleeping even less than I do. We'll add a day to the calendar. And it'll run. The show will run exclusively in Smarch, the month of Smarch.
The month of Smarch, only available in the clouds.
Yeah. The couple of 4 and 5 Dallas Cowboys versus Washington and Seahawks at Panthers. Those are a couple risky moves. Obviously, I think they're both decent plays, but the Cowboys defense, though it's been okay, also hasn't gotten a ton of sacks, hasn't forced a ton of turnovers. That's more an offensive-minded team. I'm not sure that even though the Redskins are sloppy.
They'll move the ball. I can see the Redskins scoring 20. Redskins maybe score 20. The Washington scores 20 points.
So
give up 1 sack and 2 picks.
I think what makes the Cowboys a good play this week is Colt McCoy, and that's one of those things where if he's indecisive, throws a pick or two, gets sacked a couple times, that's going to make the Cowboys a good defensive play.
Do you know Colt McCoy goes as Woody from Toy Story for Halloween every year because he doesn't have to dress up.
Yeah,
it looks just like him.
And is from Texas even.
Are you ready for?
Some football? Yes.
Yeah. Well, dun, 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 dun. Here comes your big jaw dropper, hot sports take, bold prediction, Cool Ranch style. You ready for this? Nowhere to be found in our defensive rankings. Top 10 defense this week. New York Jets.
Really?
That's happening.
Against
Buffalo. In the Jetro Dome or Jet Life Stadium.
And what's your thinking here?
Well, Kyle Orton throws at least an interception every week.
Fair.
Even if they can't run out, even if Fireman Ed recently auditioned to play safety for the Jets. Rex did pretty nice. It took some Tom magic, some tomfoolery for the Patriots to squeak that win out and to score the touchdowns the way they did.
Jets have had a couple extra days to plan.
They're rested. They're going to be excited. They believe. You know what? It's the nobody believes in us, we can believe in ourselves thing. Buffalo has a decent offensive line. The Jets' defensive line is well rested. Rex has had plenty of time. I mean, Rex versus Doug Marrone. Rex in the head of Kyle Orton.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I could see it. I could see a 10. Plus, also, they're going to be trotting out Bryce Brown and Anthony Dixon.
You've convinced me.
Just saying.
I'll go one step further and go against the rankings. They've got the Houston Texans at Tennessee as the number 6 play. I'd go so far as to make that like the number 2 or 3 play this week for defenses. Again, it comes down to the 3 syllables. J.J. Watt. He's just in the backfield every single play. Even if he's not getting the sacks that get you the points, he's changing the passes that allows his teammates to make the plays.
He was the only guy who was on it. He was so close to Antonio Brown on that reverse end around wide receiver touchdown pass he threw Monday night.
Yeah.
I mean, he just has such football smarts. He's so fast, so strong, so aggressive. He's the guy who's going to be kicking. Like the Texans have been involved in more, wow, I thought you guys could have won that games, or you guys should have been in that games. They're going to finish 8-8, and he's going to be kicking himself come January because he's going to know if we just didn't have
Ryan Fitzpatrick,
a guy who should be telling dogs to mush as they go, an Iditarod guy leader.
But here's the thing,
quarterback.
Against the Titans, who's going to lead the Titans to victory? You, Nashville Jesus?
Yeah.
You, Jake Locker?
Exactly.
Hanging out, hurt on the bench.
Benicio del Toro, whoever Charlie Whitehurst.
No, so I'm big on the Texans this week.
Yeah.
Browns versus Oakland. Your thoughts? Are you in on the Browns, or you think that they give up the rush defense is too weak?
I actually could. Their rush defense is not. They gave
Denard
up
Robinson.
22 for $127 and a touchdown to Denard Robinson.
Yep.
You give Run DMC some time to actually get his game going. Are you ready for the game, everybody, that makes you think Darren McFadden is still a relevant fantasy football running back? Here it comes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, but possibly.
I did it for you. Don't worry about it.
The Raiders have looked better recently. Not quite good enough to win a game, but better.
Right.
So sure, I'll go for that.
I'm going to tell you one other thing. If your bench has room, double bold, hot extra salsa picante caliente take.
Oh.
Yes. If your bench has room, This might be the week to. I can see Hoyer stinking it up.
Oh.
Might be Johnny Football time.
Johnny Football.
How exciting is our show going to be next week if we can talk Manziel? I know, right? We can finally be like everybody else and just talk about. We'll have a reason to talk about Johnny Manziel.
Hey, listen, I'm kind of done talking about defenses. How about you? I don't even care about the rest of the top 15 because you know what? It's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just be straight talking this one. Let's talk about. Let's go to questions. Let's get some questions.
We got some good ones here.
I have no idea where they went. Here they are. Yes.
The first one comes from a regular fan and friend of the show, fan at Fartlesburg.
Ah, Fartlesburg.
I know. It's a beautiful place this time of year.
It really is. You want to be upwind from the city, of course.
You do. Fartlesburg wants to know: should I start Kansas City or Dallas defense over Buffalo versus the Jets?
I don't think so. And we talked about why I think Dallas is a potentially good play, and that's with Colt McCoy playing quarterback. But I really, really like Buffalo defense, just week in, week out, solid. Excellent defense going against the Jets that have been. You know, even if the Jets come out, they've had that extra time to prepare. They've added Percy Harvin to the mix. There's going to be new plays that the Bills haven't seen on film that they can guess at. They guess they might run, but I still.
You can score in Buffalo. It's a good defense, but if you play into their strengths, they're a good defense. But there are weaknesses to be exploited.
True,
the Jets have had time.
Yeah.
I think the Jets are a play this week. If the Jets are available, I would, even though SB Nation Fantasy Bot had the Bills ranked as the #1 defense, I like the Jets this week, and I would consider starting Dallas over Buffalo because of the chance that Colt McCoy's. Now, if he goes out and has his howdy-doody game and plays deep in the heart of Texas, good for him, but I would go Dallas and Jets before I went Bills. Just saying it. Got the hunch. It's right in the gut.
Jets weren't in the question. You're adding answers into a multiple choice that don't exist.
I've been known to do that.
But I will say I think that the Dallas probably poses a greater potential, a higher ceiling. All right.
I'm just that kind of guy, though. It's like, this place has great chicken and fish. Like, I'd love pizza.
Yeah. Speaking of Texans, our friend of the show, Alex Horton, TX, he wants to know Matt Ryan or Nick Foles and Tony Romo or Carson Palmer. A pair of quarterback questions. First up, Matt Ryan or Nick Foles?
I'll take that one. You can take the other one because that's a cheeseburger. Matt Ryan or Nick Foles?
I'm going to go...
Matt Ryan.
Yeah. He
owes the world a good game.
He does. Although the Lions are a good defense. They held
Gave up 340 and a couple of touch to Breeze until he imploded.
Also held Aaron Rodgers to 7 points.
That was it. They play much better at their house.
True.
Now they're going to be in Her Majesty's open air house. It's a half dome.
Open air house stadium.
It's
a nice place.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous place. I like Matt Ryan to play one of only like 3 good games that he has left on the calendar this year. Or Mike Smith gets fired before they go home.
I actually don't like Foles or Ryan this week, but when I have a situation like that, I go with the player who's clearly more talented. That's Matt Ryan. The other question, Tony Romo or Carson Palmer? Romo. Romo against the Redskins, just the Cowboys. Until they prove us otherwise, that's the offense to back right there.
25 points last week, looked great. Almost had 30-some-odd points, but that touchdown was taken away when Dez was tackled at the half-yard line, and it went to DeMarco. Big-time week for Tony.
Yep. Boiler40 says, I randomly shout, Monte Ball, you and Doug Martin have ruined my life at my wife. Please explain. Also, congrats and Foles or Cutler. I believe the congrats is for me.
That is. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. You'd had to do nothing but watch a human come out of your wife.
Yeah, I didn't actually watch that part. So
I told you not to. Good job.
No, I stayed north of the curtain.
See, they said you say downwind of Fartlesburg and north of the curtain in the birthing room.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I heard you can be coached up.
So I don't...
Foles or Cutler?
Foles or Cutler? Cutler.
Yeah, now, the funny thing is the Patriots have the #1 ranked passing defense. They only give up 208 yards a game. That's because they padded stats with games with like week 2 in Minnesota.
The 4 interceptions.
4 interceptions and 28 passing yards from what's-his-face, Matt Castle.
Yeah.
Last week, Geno Smith had about 280.
Yeah. A
couple touch against them. Jay Cutler got these guys. They were yelling at each other last week. They're angry. They're going to come out intense and prepared. Yeah, I'm going to go Cutler.
Yeah, that's just a week-to-week sort of thing. Let's see. At Trolympics says, pick 2. Tate, Oliver, Forsett, Roddy White, Jarrett McKinnon, or Russian roulette because there's no way I'm going to get it right. So here we go. Golden Tate, Brandon Oliver, Justin Forsett, Roddy White, Jarrett McKinnon. Of those 5.
Brandon Tate, excuse me, no, I would never start Brandon Tate. He's a mediocre kick returner for the Bengals.
I agreed.
I got Golden Tate, and I'm going to go McKinnon.
Really?
Yeah.
McKinnon. So the Vikings, you like the Vikings playing at Tampa Bay? Huh?
I like early and often.
I'm going to go Golden Tate because he's the only receiver that Stafford's going to see against a shoddy Falcons defense. So Golden Tate we're agreed on at least. So enjoy that for Olympics. And I think that I'd rather go with Brandon Oliver or Justin Forsett. Probably not Justin Forsett because he's got the tough Bengals D-line in Cincinnati. They play each other really well. I'd probably go Brandon Oliver. Again, the Broncos are a tough defense, but you can still, you can run on them, and Brandon Oliver's been getting the reps recently.
The Broncos have only allowed 130 rushing yards in October.
Yeah, but the month's only half over.
I'm just saying they haven't given up that many rushing yards.
Yeah, well, maybe that's because teams are throwing because the Broncos are beating them 42-10.
Because that's kickoff. It was 21-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Next one.
But you know what? I won't hate the McKinnon pick, but I'm going to go Oliver.
Okay. At Alan Mark CA, looking for tips for someone in desperate need of running back help after others paid hella FAB, that's free agency budget, for the likes of Mason and Brown. That would be Trey Mason and Bryce Brown. Boobie Dixon.
Boobie Dixon you brought up, and we actually think Anthony Dixon is the better play than Bryce Brown. Or at least, I don't know if he's the better play. I think he's probably going to be the safer play. He's got the higher floor. Bryce Brown, of course, has the higher ceiling. But you brought up earlier in the show, you like Mark Ingram as a pickup, someone who's coming back from a 4-week hiatus, 5-week hiatus.
Just got back in the game last week, only had 10 carries for 16 yards, but that's a really tough place to run. Detroit, that's a great defensive front. This week, Packers much more generous. If Ingram is still available, or if you can get him for a dime on the dollar, then by all means, I would trade up for him. Even Denard Robinson is not the worst play.
No.
I mean, if he's available, or if you could pay, somebody hopefully didn't pay crazy money for him, there's a couple options.
Yeah, not much in the way of help, but
mildly helpful.
Yeah.
You never know. Or if you're really desperate, Jonas Gray may start getting some of the Stephen Ridley carries because the Patriots are much more interested in preserving Shane Vereen, number one, for the long haul, and two, using him as the pass catching back. Gray got 7 or 8 carries against the Jets. Looked pretty good.
This is my face reacting to you saying Jonas Gray, and I was like, I just never heard those two names go together before.
How many carries did Brandon Bolden get against the Jets?
I don't know.
Same number of games you were allowed to watch last Sunday in the hospital. 0. And everyone spent money on Brandon Bolden. It's the Belichick way. Just saying, if there's room and you can stash, Jonas Gray.
All right. This is also someone who said James White before the season. Just saying. I'm sorry.
No.
I mean like that. All right, we got time for one more question. Let's do really fast here. Keenan Allen, Doug Baldwin, Deshaun Jackson, and Pierre Garçon. Which 2 do you start?
That's a tough one.
I'm gonna send Doug Baldwin up again. I actually picked him up and started him blind last week, just on the thinking that the Seahawks were going to be, he was going to be the benefactor of Percy Harvin.
Someone has to be.
And 123 yards and a touchdown. Again, that's also the Seahawks having to get back in the game after falling behind and throwing, getting away from their game plan. So maybe I'm rushing to judgment there, but
Keenan Allen has frustrated the pants off of us this year. Still hasn't found the end zone, even though Phillip Rivers is having a great year. And now this week, short turnaround, still kind of dinged up, and he's going to be in Talibistan.
Do you want to start 2 Redskins wide receivers who are catching passes from Colt McCoy? I don't.
I got Doug Baldwin, and I don't know if he's got the arm strength to get it to Deshaun Jackson. So
Pierre Garçon.
I
think that's probably the safer play. I'm going to go.
Which one of them is going to draw Skandrick? That's the thing. Skandrick's the starting cornerback, but also used to be a slot guy.
Yeah.
So he might be the right call for a guy like, I could see Chris Carr drawing Deshaun Jackson, which means Skandrick on Garçon. So now that's going to make me play Deshaun Jackson.
I don't know.
That's a matchup-based decision.
That's a really tough question, and I think that I might even second guess myself and say Keenan Allen because I
scored twice last year when on a Thursday night in December, the Chargers went in and shocked the Broncos.
Yeah, exactly.
Ended their, at that point, perfect season.
Yeah, so, hey, why not Keenan Allen? Oh, just because he's disappointing for the last 7 weeks? Sure, nitpick me. Nitpick away. Just because he's had a terrible season and hasn't scored all year. Fine. Do what you want.
Okay. I'm moody like that.
All right, that's the War Room.
Is that it?
Yeah, I'm Matt Ufford. You can find me at Twitter, at Matt Ufford. I try not to respond to anybody because I don't like talking to people. That's only partly true. I like everybody.
Hey, you're a people person.
Atahoy Nick Stevens. Thanks so much for watching and or listening to us on Blog Talk Radio. We're looking to expand into new, exciting iTunes categories and what have you.
Happy first half of the season. Hold steady, everybody. I know it's been tough. A lot of us want to just throw in the towel, raise the white flag, give up. There's still, obviously, every week there's a couple new starters to be found on waivers, so spend wisely. Don't at the same time, while you're looking for the help, listen, take a little advice from your old pals here and make sure you stay the course with the guys that have at least gotten you there or kept you in contention.
Yeah. Unless, again, like there's also things like if you're 3-4 or 2-5,
not out of it yet.
You got to make a splash now. You got to start winning now. So if you got to make that trade, you got to trade for Percy Harvin. Why do we keep talking about him?
Because you're not quite over yet. It's a lot to process.
My heart's broken. We'll talk about it more offline. We'll stop bothering you with it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.
God bless America.